Okay, good evening, everybody. I just wanted to give you an update on part one of the build here. This is TransCare transloading facility, and mostly what they do is they deal with coil cars and they deal with heavy steel loads. Um, and so I'll just give you an overview of where I'm at. This is my second attempt at building this thing. The first attempt is right here. I tried to use a piece of aluminum and that was I wanted to use it as my base because it's thin and I could basically put it on the edge of the layout and not have to do any cutouts to fit it into the layout. However, I did get as far as putting two rails down, as you can see the styrene here, and I looked down the track and it was just wobbly as anything. um, this is definitely not perfect. Far from it, in fact. So I actually ripped the rails off of this thing and went with a piece of plywood instead as a base. So I think this is 3/8, or it's not quite half inch. I think it's 3/8, and it's nice and flat. And so what I've done is I've got two tracks down, and they're divided up into three sections each. So I think if you've watched my part one, I guess the intro to it, this is the first section for unloading coil cars. Beside that is another coil car unloading. And then down at the end here is the kind of longer cars. And this has got to basically to handle any kind of weird side things like, I guess, sheet steel, big sheet steel, and big billet stuff like really heavy, chunky stuff, and oversized stuff like pipes and everything else. And I think they could even do a box car as well if they needed to, because they've got the loading platform at the back. So anyway, these are the six car spots that are available within the building. And just as an example, I've put some cars here. So I've got a box car, bulkhead flat, gondola, and a couple coil cars. In the foreground here, this little section in the foreground is going to be where the two overhead cranes can do the picking and the selections of the coils. And then I think they transfer them over to the loading dock and have them ready for when a car comes in or when a flatbed truck comes in. So what we've got here, these will be back here. This is the actual road for the trucks. The trucks are free to use either the rail side or the road side, assuming there's no cars in the way or rail cars in the way, which is kind of cool. So I'll tell you a little bit about the construction. As I said, it's a 3/8 ply. I'll get rid of this stuff for the base, and it's on top of that, I've also used more plywood to build the platform, just to keep things nice and straight. And then I've been skinning it, which is a long process, but necessary when you're putting track down. So what it is, I've been using two materials basically. One is a garage sale sign from Dollarama, which is our dollar store in Canada, and I think that's about 15 thou thick. So it's a thicker material, and a big garage sale sign. I've only used two of these things for this entire thing, and they're $1.75 a piece. Quite cheap. One thing I will say about these are my fake concrete pad pours. If you can see, everything's broken up into sections, as if they poured it in sections. And one tip I'll give you guys, when you cut this stuff up, put some kind of a reference mark on the pieces so you can line them up, because your cuts are never going to be perfectly square and they're never going to align perfectly. So this is what I've done. I've done a little scribble, a unique scribble on each join. So when you lay them down, the seams are perfect. Okay. So that's one tip I'll give you for that one. The other piece of material I have is from Canadian Tire. It's a no smoking sign. This is 10 thou thick. and these are about $2.50 a piece plus tax. And I use these when I needed something extra thin. So at the back here, behind this first rail, I needed something thinner. And that's the second tip, really, is you want your rails to be proud of your finished surface. Um, Definitely on the outside of the rails. The inside doesn't matter so much, but the reason why you um, want the surface lower than the railhead is so that your engines can pick up electricity from the rails. And if the rails are sunken into the floor, they're not going to make contact. Your wheels are not going to make contact with the rail. So that's critical. And again, that's on the outside of the rails, more important than the middle of the rail. Anyway, so the rails have been glued down using CA and a track guide. And so what I've been using to fill in, obviously this is code 70, microengineering code 70 track. So I need to build up, and I don't want to use styrene to build up because it's more expensive. Instead, what I do is I cut my Eastern white cedar down to very thin pieces. I think this is 1.5 mil thick. And I just run them through the table saw and I get like 15 blanks, much bigger than this. And I start filling in the gaps with this material here. And once it's all glued down with just standard white glue or yellow glue, carpenter's glue, let that dry. And then I come along with my sanding stick. So this is 400 grit and this is 140 grit, I think, or 120. This is 120 grit, 400 grit. So the 120 really chews through cedar quite quickly. And what I do is I line this up along the rail and I sand it down on an angle. So the plastic will never be above the railhead. And I fasten that down with CA. And that really holds very quickly and it holds well. So you want to use that. What I've done for a little bit of extra detail, I'll just go over the platform first, I guess. So again, this platform is made with two pieces actually, of plywood. So one is the piece that runs in the back. Oh, that was loud. One piece is at the back and it runs the full length. And then I've got 3 more pieces in the front to basically go around the stair gaps, right? And so there's a stair gap there and a stair gap there. And obviously that's just for accessing the platform from the rail height. These have all been skinned with my garage sale sign. And I did do a scoring of the styrene to mimic individual concrete pours. I don't know if you can see that. It probably will come out much clearer when I start painting. Anyway, so that's a bit of detail there. And then I did notice that there's obviously drains inside the building. Anything comes in covered in snow, it's going to melt and there's going to be a mess on the floor. So I put in 3 drains. And so this is the finished product here. If you can see that. I'll just do a close-up of this. I buy these off of AliExpress. They're Gundam model things for making robots. And they make perfect vents and sewer covers. And there's different sizes, obviously. And these are pretty cheap, too. These are stainless steel, so you can't use your regular tools on them. You'll ruin your track cutters on these, so don't bother trying. Anyway, so I'm using the biggest ones for the sewer grate here. And what I've done is I've actually cut around where my cross is there. That's where the center of the sewer grate is. So I've sanded down all the cedar here and cut it back. And so when I put my garage sale sign on top, I glue it down flat and put a big dollop of glue here and then just press down with my thumb. And it creates a depression, which is kind of like how they would do the pour, right? They would create a slope in the concrete so all the water drains in there. So this one's finished and it has a slope. And then this one here I just glued down and I've started to cut the square hole. But this has a depression as well. And then this one I've just left clear to show you guys what I'm doing. Anyway, so this is the truck entrance right here. And the trucks come along this side parallel to the tracks. And they exit on this side here. So that's a bit of extra detail. What else can I show you? I think that's all I want to show you right now. And the next time I show you an update, Hopefully I'll have the walls up on 3 sides. So I'm going to do a wall on this side, a wall on the back, and a wall on that side. And again, this is going to be open to viewing from the front of the layout. So there won't be a wall here. There'll be a lot of detail in the foreground. So there'll be steel coils, steel loads here, and there'll be a fence separating the coils from anybody walking in the facility. They're not allowed to walk in the place where the cranes pick the coils because that's all heavily automated. Anyway, so there'll be enough interest in the foreground. And I'm not going to do a complete roof because obviously I have to uncouple cars. So I'm going to come in from the top and uncouple. And there will be some lighting. I'm still figuring out how I'm going to do that. And yeah, I guess that's about it for part 1. I'll follow up again when I get further along the build. Thanks to all the recent subscribers. That's fantastic. And I hope you guys enjoy following along this build. I am taking a break from building engines. A variety. I need to branch out a bit. I've built too many engines the last couple months, so I'll do this, get this done, and then I'll go back to engines probably. So stick around. If this isn't enjoyable, I'll be doing other things as well, and I might even get into painting some. And some of the engines I've already done all the wiring for. I'll probably paint those up too, and show you the results. So take care. Happy Family Day for those in Canada. And I'll post again soon.